Hello, everybody. This show has been created to inspire you to take action.
All about celebrating and reframing what success looks like.
To be the best version of ourselves that we can be.
And we have incredible speakers for you tonight.
Hello and welcome to the Future Females Show. I'm Susana Kennedy, your host today, and I'm super excited to be here because the Future Females Show has been specifically created for you, female entrepreneurs, female CEOs and founders, and females that are just forging the way, the new direction for women all over the world. We love to celebrate female entrepreneurs and reframe what success looks like to each and every one of us, because we know that success actually is very, very individual. Some people create success through social media, and if you are one of those people who do that or is wanting to do that, do you want to be a TikTok god? I mean, do you want to be a TikTok god? Because we have one joining us today. I am so excited. My friend Cassidy Nicholson. And you might also know her as a girl named Cassidy who has over 174,000 followers on TikTok alone and has had over 5.3 million likes. Yes, I checked today, Cass, on TikTok. And that's on TikTok alone. She also creates content for YouTube, for Instagram, and many other platforms. She is a trained actress, writer, content creator, and so many other things. I would love to welcome my lovely, hilarious, and very deep friend, Cassidy, to the Future Female Show. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you so much. That intro was just so touching. Thank you.
I'm glad, because I mean, I am going to let you do a better job than I did. But one of the things that I love about you is your mix of humor with humanity. And it's something that comes through for me consistently. And I think it's one of the things that drew me to you right in the beginning when we met. We met on a shoot. We were both doing a shoot for Easy Hair Pro. We do love to have our golden locks looking fabulous. And so fabulous. And we met there, and there was just an instant genuineness, but fun. Right? That we could like have fun on set, but we were real with each other, and there was just like this honesty that happened. And I think for me, that's one of the things that really shines through in your content. But maybe speak a little bit about how you became a content creator and where that came from.
So it was actually during lockdown. It was March 2020. I can remember it so vividly. But I was very much living in that moment of fear. Everyone was so scared. We were constantly just eyeing the stats, how many people are going in and out of hospital, the deaths and all of that. And I was really just, for the lack of a better word, I was consumed. The news was on permanently. I mean, I was staying with my mom at the time, and she works in travel. So of course, and being fully intoxicated in that world was very scary, and I was living in fear. And then one day I just remember, between making banana bread and going to home gyms, I was puzzling with my mom one day, just trying to do something to distract my mind from the numbers. And I don't know if it happened all over the world. I think it did, but people started using whatever talents they had. So if they were musicians or singers or artists or whatever, they started giving back to the community. So I remember we were puzzling together, and we were watching a musician. Their name's actually Just Ginger, because they have the song about, peace, love, more tolerance, which is actually quite fitting. And we were watching that, and his song was so inspiring to me. And I felt, for the hour that he performed, I felt like I wasn't in that world anymore, that deeply fear-driven world. And so I said to myself, I want to make people feel like this. And so what tools do I have in my toolbox? What resources do I have? And, I'm multifaceted in film. I've managed to do everything. So I'm pretty well-rounded. So I was like, let me take the knowledge that I have and start making skits on TikTok. I mean, I kind of just wanted to see what social media I had in the first place. And I had TikTok and Instagram at my disposal, where I then started posting like little skits and things like that and mixing it with humor and just people that we see in our everyday lives. And I tell you what, it was just overnight that it just went viral, and since then I've been making content ever since.
You know, I love so many things about what you said, because first of all, one of the things you said to me is you just wanted people to turn off the news and experience some hope. And I think that's a general like request to everybody that's watching. It's like I really feel like the news is just this this feeding machine of fear and anguish. You know, it's not like you turn on the news and hear, oh, this puppy got saved. You know, it really is like a fear generating machine. And I think you are right. It was at an all-time high during COVID, and people like Just Ginger, Art Matthews is actually a friend of mine. He's lovely. Like creating that content really did pull people through. But one of the things that I love is that you're consistently choosing to create content that has humor in it, but it has a message as well. Like it's not just like, let's be funny for funny's sake. It's like, oh, let's look at this aspect of ourselves, or let's look at this aspect of society, or this character that we know, which leads me to Constantia Mom. How was Constantia Mom born?
Oh gosh, it's actually quite a funny story. Constantia Mom used to be my party trick. It's based off my actual mother, but like my mom's not getting drunk at like 12 p.m. So I obviously, pulled a few things out of my toolbox and had creative freedom and creative rights. And it was actually a thing that I started doing properly when I came back. I was living overseas. I moved back home, and what ended up happening was it was like a skit. I would go out and I would actually do things like I would go for hikes, I'd go for dinners, and I'd pretend to be this character. And the character's name was Dorothy Spills the Tea. It's about a woman that hates to skinner but loves to gossip, which is basically the same thing. And people started sending me messages and actually started sending me links to my own stories, just saying, this is like every woman in Constantia. So when I started making these skits online, I was like, you know what? Ambiguity is always a little bit fun, and it also takes the identity away from her. So I just stuck with Constantia Mom, and there we were. And Constantia Mom was talking about real issues and things, but in such a Constantia-esque way.
Yeah, she's instantly recognizable, and I think that that's a normal thing. You know, if you're working within the creative industry, if you're a writer, if you're a content creator, if you're a producer, you take the essence of, right, and you just expand on it, which makes it really, really funny. Now, one of the things that this has led to is actually you doing stand-up comedy as well, and actually becoming a comedian in your own right, and also being honored for content creation by Mnet and other platforms. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and how that felt for you as a content creator, being honored in that way?
It was actually really incredible. I mean, I grew up watching Mnet, so it was just really, I felt like I'd come full circle. Even though I was on small screen, here I was being honored by a corporation that puts on, has long form content on a big screen. So I felt seen. But it was crazy because I went to the awards where I was nominated for Content Creator of the Year. And it was there that I ended up meeting a bunch of really well-known personalities, stand-up comedians, and just all-round celebrities in South Africa, and ended up becoming literally tied at the hip with one of them, who is a stand-up comedian and TV personality, Nina Hasty. But she wasn't telling me anything I didn't know. already, because I remember during lockdown, I was going on lots of podcasts. I was going and doing lots of Instagram interviews, you know, lives and things like that with people. And an overwhelming response to, because I mean, just having conversations with me, I tend to be humorous, but an overwhelming response was, how can you apply that? And please just go on stage, because people just want to watch more and more and more of you. You have such a refreshing, you know, outlook and humor towards things. So people were like, you actually just need to get on stage. You're a trained actress. You make comedy content. Just marry the two and do it. So, you know, becoming friends with Nina, she kind of just, you know, coached me a little bit here and there and introduced me to the right people. And so, you know, what do they say? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So I got lucky.
Absolutely, and you were prepared, which is so great. Yeah, it's so fantastic. What do you think sets your content apart from other content creators? Like, what do you think makes it this content that people love watching and are attracted to sharing with their friends and liking and really getting involved?
I think in the beginning, when I started it all, it was really important for me to make sure that every character I created was a 3D character. And to me, what that means is when you watch something, you can go, I know this woman. She may not be my mom or my aunt, but she's definitely mistaken me for working at Woolies because I wore a black t-shirt or something like that. I wanted to make sure that everyone knew this version of this woman. Excuse me, it's just a fly. Everyone knew this version of this woman, and it's incredibly important for me to create content for everyone, because I feel like sometimes, even though we do have niched markets, I want, you know, we come from such a divided background. I want everyone in the country to be able to see the type of content that I'm making and go, oh, that's so relatable, that's so funny, that's so now, that's, you know. So I went out of my way and I created character Bibles for each of the characters that I made. And what that means is I need to be able to tell you their name, their surname, what they do for a living, if they use 2, 3, 4-ply toilet paper, what their favorite breakfast is, what they do in their downtime, and, you know, their hobbies. And if I can tell you all of that and know all of that, I'll be able to slip in and out of those characters and just make them feel real. So to answer your question, I think it's that there are lives within these characters. They are real people in essence.
And I think that, I mean, it's amazing. Like I always say that, you know, in my coaching, because, you know, I'm a transformational coach, and I always say that life is like a dot-to-dot picture, you know, and every single thing that you do that happens to you, that you study, that you experience, is preparing you for something else. And in acting, of course, that is something that we do. To create an authentic character, you have to understand that character's light and their darkness, their bad habits, their good habits. You know, do they prefer 2-ply toilet paper or 1-ply toilet paper? And these are bizarre, strange little differences, but they create a full, alive character. And I can see so many things that you're describing, because I also know that you script really well. Have prepared you almost for this new venture, you know, in your life, and it's going fantastically. For wannabe TikTok gods out there, what would be 3 tips that you could give them that they could action like right now, straight away, to start creating more content that is effective in drawing in audiences and community?
Okay, I always make this joke, but I think it's really important just to say it. Please, please polish and wipe your camera. The amount of people who are, because I mean, if you think about it, you're making content on your phone, right? So it's like you're doing this on your phone, you're doing this on your phone. And then the first thing you decide to do is when you make content like this, it's really all blurred here. So the most important thing is to check your camera and clean it.
Cass, I'm so glad you said that, because that is something I do all the time. It drives me mad. I like do this video and then I'm like, what the actual?
Yeah, so please clean your camera. It's actually very, very common that people have sent me videos and stuff to stitch and then it's blurred. But actually on that, I think it's really important to be able to find your light and your sound, because if your video is difficult to watch, people aren't going to want to watch it. Mm-hmm. And a simple way to do that is literally just to seat yourself in front of a window. Like It is honestly, it's the best form of light, an open window right in front of your face. It's great. And your sound just clean. I mean, you guys are wearing mics, so getting a little lapel mic is also something that you can do if you don't have good quality on your phone or your laptop, whatever it is you're using to make content. So once you've ensured that, just go in with a little bit of preparation. So I always know, okay, cool, if I'm making this skit, where do I need to be? What is the set looking like, and what am I going to wear? So just kind of have a little bit of an idea of what you're going to do. And I think lastly, it's just to be yourself and to have fun. I mean, it's a common fact that 99.9% of my videos are all improvised, because I just believe there's so much realness within me when I improv something, and it starts feeling a little bit static and put on when I do it like time after time after time after time. So I know that the gold and the magic comes from the moments where I'm not thinking, because I'm an overanalyzer and overthinker. So if your thing is to curate something so perfect where it feels like that's more you, then go in that direction. But if you, just like myself, like to be off the cuff and fun and spicy, then do that. So staying true to yourself, maintaining the quality, and having an idea of what it is you want to create.
I think that those are such great tips. And one of the things that I'm so glad you touched on, the fact that some people are really comfortable just being spontaneous in the magic of being present, right? And other people need the safety and the structure of thinking through something and creating content in that way. And I think both are completely valid. You've just got to tap into yourself and realize which one of those you are. But I'm sure there are times when you are very conscious and deliberate about your content creation. And this was something that I wanted to ask you, because there's constant trends in terms of sound bites that are going out on Instagram and TikTok. You know, these little sounds that go viral, and everybody's making, you know, like a little video according to that sound, and new trends of doing reels in a certain way or videos in a certain way. Do you follow those and look at what is happening? Or do you really just stick to, I'm a Constantia mom right now, and this is the inspiration and this is the content I'm creating? How do you navigate that?
I definitely think it's important, and sometimes a little bit ignorant if we don't do it. But I think it's important to see what the trends are and why they are trending. I'm not a makeup guru, so I'm not going to sit and, you know, do my face and give you tips and tricks unless, you know, maybe that's what people are asking for. But there may be a trending sound that all the makeup gurus are using for their transitions and things like that. So a smart way to take a trend like that and keep it within your niche would be possibly to take that soundbite that they're using or whatever and to incorporate it into a piece of content that you like. So I do stay true to trends because I think it's important. But I don't go and do the same trending video. I mean, I'm not a dance TikToker. I'm not a makeup TikToker. I'm a comedy content creator. So I would have to incorporate it in a totally different manner. But when you're creative like that, it actually even makes it more fun and exciting to find and to watch and to create.
So it's really about like taking the trend and going, okay, how would I express that trend in my unique way, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
And I love that, because one of the things that you do really well, that I think if anybody wants to be a TikTok god or an Instagram god or, you know, any kind of content creator god, is you're going to get the opportunity to work with brands. One of the things that we all know is we'll get to certain people's posts and it's like, oh, this is such an advertisement, and then scroll, right? So how do you find that balance of creating, because essentially it is an ad, you know, when you're working with a brand, I mean, let's call a spade a spade, they want you to promote their brand. How do you, what are tips and pieces of advice that you could give to content creators on how to work with a brand creating an advert without it feeling like an advert?
So this is actually something I've put in many pitches of mine when I've gone and approached brands, because that's also something that people need to realize is I can't just sit back and think that brands are going to come and approach me. No, I need to be on their radar some way, shape, or form. So a lot of the time, because I don't know why, maybe I'm grateful for it, but I don't have an ego. So if I want to work with Versace, I will email them. Like, I have nothing to lose, just for example's sake. So I actually went and I approached majority of the brands during lockdown and things, and now I have partnerships with them. But something that I have mentioned to them is we're living in 2023. We're living in a time where people are literally glued to their phones and spend majority of their days in denial about the scroll hole that they are in. And so I call a spade in my pitch, and I just say, I am not going to sell your product. I'm not going to. A great example was years back, Pat Lambie, who was on our rugby team, was like, how's it guys? My name's Pat Lambie and I use Clear for Men. I immediately saw that and I knew that that was a brand placement, that was an ad. And so what I was saying was, in 2023, we need to be conscious that we are, the person on the other side of the screen is very self-aware of being bought. Like, we know that we are the consumer and someone is trying to sell us something. So if something is blatantly obvious, we have this animosity because we don't want to feel like we can just be sold to, We're a little bit defensive of ourselves, and we want to know that I wanted to buy it because I wanted to buy it, not because you told me to. So I find what goes best, and I put it in my pitches, is I say, I'm not going to sell your product at all. I'm not going to, if I'm working with a car brand, I recently worked with Suzuki, I said to them, I'm not going to sell cars. I'm not going to say, hey guys, my name's Cassidy, buy a Suzuki. No, we're going to sell your cars by simply putting them in the video. So by seeing the emblem, by me saying, oh yeah, no, I'm going on a drive today. And then in the deep background, you can see Suzuki. It's that subliminal messaging that people are now going to start associating your name with the brand. And if people really like you, which is why I say it is so important to stop looking at your viewers like fans. They're not your fans, they are your audience. There needs to be a level of loyalty, there needs to be a level of trust, because you know what, when those audience members are loyal, they will pretty much want to do anything you do because they trust you so much. They trust your word. They know that you're going to tell the truth, and they know that you're not going to lie. And so if Cassidy is driving a Suzuki, it must be because it's a good car. And that is what you do. You really cater to your audience, and you really it's all about subliminal, and like, just make sure it doesn't feel like a brand placement. Ask yourself, if I saw this piece of content, would I watch it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's so much more effective. Not only, like, I learned that in film, in film, unless it's Wayne's World, where they were so literal about it. Do you remember that scene in Wayne's World where it was like, I'll give you a headache tablet for your head, it was like ridiculous. Unless you're going in that route and really like punting it like that and make it funny in that way, it needs to be so subtle. Otherwise, we're so tired of having brands pushed down our throats. We retract. So I love how you do that. It's really, really great. With regards to how much should I post a day? How often should I post? How regular is the regularity of my posting important? What are your tips and tricks around that?
So when it comes to your continuity, it's definitely not the word. You can tell I come from a film background. When it comes to your consistency, I think it's important, very much so, to know which app you're posting on. Because on YouTube, you can get away with posting once a week. A lot of people will post more than that just to get in the algorithm, but I think you can get away with posting once a week because it's long form. When it comes to Instagram, I would say daily, around stories, I'd say around 10 is your sweet spot. People want to feel like they are with you. It's very much a person-to-person relationship. Whereas TikTok, people are kind of aware that they're watching content, So I would actually say, sorry, there is just this rogue fly. So if you see me, I'm fine. Just letting you know.
It's not like a new tick that you're developing.
It's a tick, it's just a fly.
Okay, I got it.
If on TikTok, something that I know from actually working with TikTok is that they favor retention. It's not like any other social media you've ever been on. It's not about your likes or your comments. Yes, engagement is important, but that's when it normally comes to brands. But when it comes to person, they favor retention. So the longer a person is watching your video, I mean, the creators of TikTok are there to keep you on the app. So they're like, okay, cool. If Cassidy is watching Susana's content and she's watching it over and over and over, we're going to keep showing her Susana's content because we just want to keep her on the app. So it's going to be stuff like that, right? Because of the fact that we favor retention, I would actually say your consistency with posting is relative to you. If you can post once a day, that's fine. Post once a day. If you can post 3 times a day, that's fine. Post 3 times a day. But when it comes to, again, as I mentioned, your consistency on TikTok is so important, because if you decide to post at 1 p.m., 5 p.m., at 9 p.m., then make sure every single day when you're posting at those times, because then it sees you as a consistent user and it keeps you coming, and you keep coming back. It sees you as a loyal user. So it's like, you know what, we're going to do you a little scratch on the back because you scratched ours. We're going to start pushing your content. And that's what the TikTok algorithm does. They really, really favor your consistency, but like down to the minute. But again, as I said, just because I'm posting 3 times a day doesn't mean you need to be posting 3 times a day like Instagram, where it wants everyone to post at least twice a day. So if you can only post once, but make sure that one time that you do post is on the same time every single day.
And so posting one time once a day, that's like the minimum, do you reckon?
I would say it's the minimum, but that's just my experience and my growth journey. Speaking to the team back at TikTok, they have said a minimum 3 times a week is what is required when it comes to TikTok growth, organic TikTok growth.
And so in terms of content creation, what do you actually set aside time every day to create content, or do you kind of batch create and spend like a whole day just making loads and loads of content and then use a scheduling tool to put that content out?
I'm going to be honest with you. There was a time when I tried to, post and schedule and do all of those things and batch content and whatnot. But I'm someone that struggles with as much as I thrive on, in routine, I actually really struggle to make content when I'm not feeling inspired. So when I feel inspired, then a lot of the time I'll, make a batch of content. But sometimes I'll, consciously scroll, and I give myself that ability, and I consciously scroll for like half an hour and I go, oh, I really like this. I'm going to try and do that as well. So to be honest with you, sometimes I batch create and sometimes I just create when I feel inspired. So it really depends on the type of person you are.
Okay, so I like that there's a little bit of flexibility there, and that's good tips in terms of what content creators need to be looking for. One of the things that I did want to ask you is, what are the do not do's? Like, what are the mistakes? Like, what are the things that content creators are doing that just turn audiences off and make them like, I mean, we obviously we spoke about the fact that if you're creating things that sound like adverts, that's like a no-go. But what are some of the other things that we should definitely be avoiding?
100% wearing pinstripes on camera. Stop it. Don't do it. It makes your whole screen feel fuzzy. And it actually is really, really difficult to watch. That's one thing I learned when I was a casting director. I was like, are people wearing patterns? Like, why?
What?
So I know. So try and stick to your solids. Also, don't wear any branded or logos unless you're actually working with that brand. That's another like rookie error. But otherwise, I would say when people put their background music too loud, I'm like competing. I'm trying to listen to you, but I'm also, listening to the song. So it's like, if there's going to be background music, literally putting it 10 and under is what I would go for. Otherwise, it's just way too distracting. And another no-go, I think, would be when it comes to TikTok especially, they really do thrive on the fact that kids also use this app. So when I tell you, if you can create on the side of vanilla, that's what you should be doing. Let's reduce the swearing. Let's reduce the skin. So if we can go, if I could have a choice of wearing a skimpy top versus a top with like maybe just showing my décolletage, I would opt for the latter. I would go with the second option. And also don't consume any, drugs or alcohol on camera. They block your content completely, and if you do this one too many times, they will actually completely disable your account. So just to stay clear and just create good, healthy, honest content that's like halal and kid friendly.
Halal and kid friendly. One of the, I mean, that's not hard to do, guys. One of the questions that one of our Future Females community members had was she had a lingerie business, and she was like, how do I create content for TikTok that is halal and kid-friendly if I've got a lingerie business? And I really loved your answer, and so I'm going to ask you to share that, because I'm sure it can help other entrepreneurs that possibly are not generally halal and kid-friendly think a little bit outside the box.
I think it's really important to everything that we've seen to not assume that that's where it ends. To open our minds up to the way that we can stylize our content. So I love I love following marketing brands and companies and things. I think it's really interesting because I love business. So I follow this marketing brand, and they speak about how they actually market one of their bikini brands. And it was a girl showing you all the variations in which you could tie the top. But what she would do is she would tie the top over her clothes. Her body was fully clothed. She was wearing a figure-hugging like white dress. And then she was retying the top, and then she'd do one of these transitions. And then for a split second, well, not a split second, but for like about a few seconds, you would see her, as her skin is with the bikini on as she's wearing it. Then she would click again, and now she's back in the dress and she's tying it a different type of way. For me, I find that is very palatable, and it's very conservative, and so people tend to love it. Another really, really creative idea is what people are loving now is they're really enjoying vlogs. So not necessarily having to put it on your person, but maybe doing a little bit of a flat lay, putting the underwear down and the clothes you're going to wear on top of it. And then thereafter, you're having coffee and something like that. So it's kind of like a day in the life, but it's like when you get dressed, you lay your clothes out. It doesn't necessarily, we don't have to sexualize our content in order to sell it.
Moving on from the content creation that is more conservative, I think that's also good advice for brands and for individuals. Like if you are not a conservative brand, perhaps maybe Instagram or one of the other platforms is a better option for you, and maybe TikTok isn't the right option for you. But if you're going to go with TikTok, they're very strict on the guidelines, right? I know Pinterest actually took down one of my photos that I pinned up the other day as well. I didn't realize how strict they were, and it was actually just a couple cuddling, and I'd pinned it on my love board, like, oh, that's a nice expression of love. And they said, this goes against our guidelines. And I was like, appeal? There was nothing sexual about it. It was literally like just two people like hugging each other. But I suppose really understanding the platform and what the limitations are is very, very important. That said, what is your most successful video that you have had on TikTok? How did you create it? How many views or likes did you have? And why do you think it achieved the success that it did?
Gosh, I've actually achieved great success in almost every single category of humor I've created. So the first one was obviously my first viral Constantia Mom video, and that was Constantia Moms at home, stressing about the pools, stressing about the fact that they couldn't walk their dogs, was against their human rights, stressing about the fact that they only had limited amount of bottles of wine. Like, oh my gosh, now I might have to drink the Shannon in the cellar. Oh Lord, no, it's exactly, that's what I'm saying. So there was that element that went viral and people loved that. But then there was also the element of me being an open book and saying, hey guys, I come from a mixed race family, but I would create funny skits where I would pretend to be my mom, my dad, my gran, my aunt, my uncle. And I did growing up in a mixed family pants edition, and it's about when you wear short shorts, and like my dad's like, no, go put a pair of pants on, and my mom's like, it's 45 degrees outside, and he's like, I know, it's cold, you know. So, and then my gran coming in the back going, here's a scarf, your chest is open. So it was just really funny. And I did the same thing with wearing shoes, you know, when your dad used to like ask you where your toe is and like go walk for me because he wants you to grow into your shoes. So like did that whole element, that went really well. And then on top of it, I started doing a segment called The Call Center, which was when two people do like a job interview-esque via the phone. And I did how to become a VW driver. So it's like, you know, how do you drive over a speed bump? Oh, sideways. So it was this like element of like now appealing to men, because obviously I know, you know, girls have the tendency to watch more girly content, but it's like this humor in cars, and then, you know, speaking very like in realistic manners of like, hey, I actually come from a mixed race family, but then at the same time, you know, having a whole skit about a middle-aged white woman that hates to gossip. So it's all these different things. So it was the mixed race family, my first Constantia Mom video, and then talking about how to become a VW golf driver. That one actually went as far as to go viral on Facebook as well. And that's actually how I got the Suzuki deal.
Oh, amazing. And how, when you say go viral, how many views do you get on these kinds of pieces of content?
Well, typically viral defines 1 million views, but a video can be said as going viral when it literally takes a few minutes and it's over 100,000 views. But in my cases, all of those videos did go viral. And when it went viral on Facebook, it was like over 500,000 views there. And Facebook seems like a platform very few people use these days. So the fact that it went viral there too, I was like, that's wild. But I think in TikTok's definition, it more refers to the speed at which something is picking up, you know, and how many views it's getting. Because it's like now I posted it's 2 views, in 5 minutes it's at 500,000 views. Even though it's not 1 million, it's still going viral.
Yes, absolutely. So with TikTok, is it views, likes, or comments? Is it just views that you are after?
Well, with me, actually, I think you want to see your views go up over your comments and your likes, because if your views are going up, that means your retention's good, and that means your profile is going to start being pushed.
Okay, so I've got 2 questions left, and then we've got to wrap it up. Sure. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received? And it can just be life advice. It doesn't have to be, you know, TikTok God advice.
Yeah. I think for me, it was when I started getting into the business aspect of film, and it was try hard, fail fast. So kind of going through the process of elimination in this thing we call life, and just, doing it. And if it doesn't work, moving on to the next thing, because we can't fail in this life at anything. All we can do is just learn lessons. So it was that one. And the other one, which is a little bit dark, but to me, I see the silver lining because I'm like aggressively optimistic all the time, was when someone told me that there's always going to be someone somewhere who is, you know, doing more than you, like better at you than you in your craft. So just do it. And it really is. As someone who's an actress, I can watch actors and be like, they're incredible. I'm not as good as them, but there's, you know, I'm also better than someone else. And it's not about that. It's about creating that piece of art and who's right to tell that story. So everything is relative in this life. So knowing that there are people that are better than you, and also knowing that you can, you know, you're the driver of your car and your journey, all that type of stuff, that for me was just inspiring. And that led me to be like, oh, the world is literally my oyster.
I love that. It's absolutely beautiful. So the last question I have is, has anything ever happened to you where you've literally just laughed so hard you almost peed in your pants, or actually did pee in your pants? And if it did, I want to know that story.
Oh, gosh. Listen, I've never almost peed my pants. I either didn't or I did. I feel like I just have to state that. I'm trying to think. There have been times where you know what? You know what really just makes me laugh is when you and someone, or like you and your family are sitting around and someone starts laughing at something, and then people just keep adding to the story, and it gets funnier and funnier and funnier. And then you all do that like collective, and then it goes back into that big belch of laughter. And for me, it's that weird that makes me so. And also, every time you've had to be quiet, like at a sleepover, that's another really funny time. You know, when your parents are like, okay, it's 9:00, bedtime now, keep quiet. Then everything is funny. You're just like,
And then you're that awkward giggler.
100%. I cry or laugh. There's no in between.
I love that. I love that. I think, you know, there've been so many takeaways from this conversation, and I think they are so, so valuable to anybody who wants to be a content creator. But for me, I think the biggest key takeaway for me in this is the authenticity of creating something that's relatable, when people can sort of for a moment go, oh, fuck, I've experienced that. And I understand what that feels like. This person understands what I feel like, and I'm not alone in this world on this journey, right?
I think perfection is just way too unrelatable these days. So I think like you'll truly find out when you start talking about things that were like really cringe or embarrassing or funny for you growing up, or even now, that I don't think any of us are living a unique life. I think we're all living the same life, because apparently we all have the same memories of certain things, but we are just unique people, you know, like there's this whole societal thing, and it's like we just have to laugh about it by talking about it, and that's what's really beautiful to me. So I'm at a point where I just think being so relatable is the new perfect, and by being relatable is being real and authentic. Like if I do an unboxing, the first thing I say is, guys, look at this pimple. It's huge. Okay, now stop looking at it. Jeez, that's so rude. Why would you look at my pimple? I'm talking about an unboxing. You know, doing something like that and kind of letting my vulnerability shine. But also now I've called out the biggest thing I think everyone's looking at. So now there's nothing to lose. Now I can just play, you know, and people really like that side of not being perfect.
Yeah, it's great. It's the 8 Mile thing, right? Where he goes on stage, he's like, here I am. Here's all my vulnerability. Here's all the things that are wrong with me. Now what can you do? What are you going to bring at me? Nothing, right? So I love that.
That's your superpower, your vulnerability.
Yeah, I love that. Cassidy, you are such a star. Thank you for sharing so honestly, so vulnerably, with so much humor and grace and integrity. It's really, really wonderful. It's been so great watching you grow, and I am so going to follow your journey, besides seeing you as a friend, but like just following your journey and just cheering you on. Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and for seeing me and for hearing me and all the things someone has written in a leather-bound journal.
Absolutely a pleasure. And to everybody watching this episode of the Future Females Show, thank you for tuning in. I hope these tips were very valuable. Please comment below and let us know what are the tips that stood out for you as the most valuable. And if you have any questions for Cassidy or for our team, just comment below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And in the meantime, I wish you an abundance of creativity and awesome content creation and all the success in the world. See you next time. Bye.